This is the commander. Moments ago, this ship received word of a Cylon attack against our home worlds is underway. We do not know the size or the disposition or the strength of the enemy forces. How, why, doesn't really matter now. What does matter is that as of this moment, we are at war.
The difference between this look and the look that they did in 1978, there's no difference in the story. The story is the same.
Sooner or later, the day comes when you can't hide from the things that you've done anymore.
It's left a big mark on everybody who ever saw it. If you ever say Battlestar Galactica, they know it.
You must have an escape plan. You're not about to be destroyed by your own bombs, are you? How are you leaving? Oh!
The first thing that I did approaching the material was to say, let's shoot this differently.
Okay, we're rolling, and action!
Every other effects movie is getting more and more unreal and fantasy-like. We just wanted to go the other way.
It's beautiful. The artistic endeavor is beautiful.
I remember that's why I thought Battlestar was so different, why there was an edge to it. Because you're talking about the genocide of a race.
Humanity's children are returning home.
You're going to hear and see a classic story in a whole new way.
Here was Battlestar Galactica, which, if nothing else, was one of the campiest and one of the biggest, glossiest, over-the-top productions that the 70s produced. You know, after Star Wars came out, it was like, okay, let's get one of those, says ABC TV, and they get Battlestar Galactica.
Back in 1978, doing Battlestar Galactica, it was an extraordinary experience because nobody was prepared to walk on the set and see these incredible sets created for this show. And from the moment I stepped on the set, I thought, oh my God, you know, what have I stepped into here?
Battlestar Galactica was a rarity in that it was a very popular title that not a lot of people actually saw. It was only on the air for one season, and yet it had this amazing media and marketing blitz with lunchboxes and t-shirts, and so everyone was sort of vaguely aware of this thing called Battlestar Galactica. Very seldom has a remake of a television title succeeded. It's hard to find the example of the remake that has worked, and so in many respects you say the smart thing to do is to establish a relationship with the fan base because we want to build from that base. And on the other hand, the nature of this now is to create a new audience for this title.
My initial reaction when I read the Battlestar Galactica script, or when I came across the whole idea, was I had sort of I had remake-itis, I guess. In my mind, it suffered from the stigma of having already existed and having already been successful. I'm never sure why people remake things if it's already been done. So, but then that completely dissipated as soon as I read this script.
Extermination by your command. Launch a fighter patrol.
One of the biggest changes that I decided was necessary to tell the show was the backstory of the Cylons. If we said that the Cylons had started like that as the mechanistic, more armor-plated ones, and evolved on their own to look like human beings, we'd save ourselves all these production problems. It also becomes a more interesting sort of philosophical show. We should say that they were created by humanity, and that's coming back to bite them in the ass.
We wanted to actually have people like her. She's mostly responsible for killing off 12 billion people. but she's fallen in love with Gaius Baltar, and you want to have some sympathy towards her, and the fact is that she doesn't really know she's a humanoid Cylon.
The culminator, right?
On a much smaller scale, one of the key changes, which was also one of the very first things I thought of, was to change Starbuck to a woman.
What's the charge this time?
Striking a superior ass.
Ah.
Hi, I'm Katie Sackhoff from Battlestar Galactica. I play Starbuck. Deal with it.
If you make Starbuck a woman and you give her a lot of the same attributes, it's different. You haven't seen this relationship before, especially presenting them as fighter pilots.
When I first experienced the controversy and the anger about Starbuck being changed into a woman, I kind of welcomed it because it gave me something to work for.
I think that the whole idea was that actually, in America now, there are women fighter pilots. So if we've got women fighter pilots in the 20th century, why should women not be involved in every strata of the battleship? It's not like anybody's less able.
I've seen many versions of Romeo and Juliet which are, incredibly inventive and go off the page and do all sorts of things. And that's usually, and Shakespeare is the greatest writer in the history of the human race. And no one seems to have a problem with that.
You can only hope that people will get their act together and do it right, and they have. The stuff that I've seen has been breathtaking. It really does put you inside of that world.
It's not enough to just live. You have to have something to live for. Let it be Earth.
Commander Dama in this new version of Battlestar Galactica is a person who is getting ready to retire, even though he finds it difficult.
Oh my God. Where did you find her?
Rusting out in a salvage yard in Sagittarius.
Well, first of all, the thing about Eddie is he's got tremendous presence and charisma. I was initially intimidated by him, which is exactly what the character really is.
When the story starts, there's been a lot of time since I've seen my son. Since the death of my youngest son, he has not talked to me. He blames me for that death, so we have nothing to speak about, and it comes out.
Why don't you talk to me, Lee?
What do you want to talk about?
About anything. You've been here for an hour.
Well, I don't have anything to say.
My Apollo is different from the original one, and he's not your ultimate sort of heroic type who always seems to act in the best interests of those around him. He's actually an intrinsically flawed character, and he has huge relationship, parental issues going on, and he doesn't particularly like who he is either.
You've been more than a father to me. You've been someone I could look up to and trust and respect.
Apollo was, all in all, a very passionate, very dedicated, very sincere human being who cared about his job, cared about the people, and cared about the quality of life, and was out there to do the right thing. I think he was truly one of those true blue hero types.
I think Apollo and his dad in this version have, a few more issues than perhaps they did in the original.
One of us wasn't cut out to wear the uniform.
He earned his wings, just like we all.
One of us wasn't cut out to be a pilot. One of us wouldn't have even made it into flight school if his old man, his daddy, hadn't pulled the strings.
He has this tremendously strong father figure who he has rebelled against and rejected because of the death of his brother. And as a result, Apollo's questioning everything that his life has been about until then, which is this military career.
So I guess you're the new CAG now.
Yeah, that's what they tell me.
It's good. It's the last thing I want. I'm not a big enough dipstick for the job.
It's a very, very strong female character, and I've never gotten a chance to play a character that's so sure of herself and her abilities at what she does. So, I don't know, it's exciting.
How tough is Starbuck? Probably as tough as any John Wayne movie I've ever seen. She's tough. She's tough, and more than that, she's good. She's a really good pilot.
Starbuck's really angry and very much in her head a lot of the times. I thought that it was very interesting to approach every situation with a lot of confidence and with a lot of masculine energy.
I honestly don't know why I have to keep telling you this.